Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Today let us study environmental pollution. This particular topic is covered under 3 videos. So please do watch to learn about the various types of pollution and the role of individual in controlling pollution. Environment, it comprises of living forms and the non-living forms. The living forms comprises of the human beings along with the flora and fauna, and a balance is there between these living forms and the non-living forms. This has been existing for millions of years, but recently this is disturbed because of population increase in human beings. Man depends on environment only for 3 needs, that is the air, water, and then food. Previously, he used to depend only for these things on the nature. But with time, the greed of man has increased, and this has finally led to alteration in the environment, which we term it as environmental pollution. And so, man started polluting the environment. Now, what is pollution? Any substance which is added to the normal environment, which is causing its alteration, you call it as a pollution. Say this is the normal environment which is clean, but because of the addition of the pollutant, it has changed. It has changed. It might have become unsuitable. So this is what is a pollution. Now coming to the definition of pollution, the term pollution is derived from the Latin word pollutinum, which means making it dirty. The substances making it dirty, they are called as the pollutants. And the definition of the pollutant, it goes like this. Any constituent which is added in wrong quantity, at the wrong place, or at the wrong time, that you call it as a pollutant. Anything which is added in the wrong quantity, at the wrong place, or at the wrong time, that is what is a pollutant.
Environmental pollution, it refers to any physical, chemical or any biological alteration that is taking place in the quality of the air, quality of water or quality of soil to a degree which is harmful to the living organisms. That is what is environmental pollution. And we all know that man is the chief cause for all this pollution. He has been doing this pollution since centuries, and now there is a cry to stop man from doing all his activities, and this cry is unheard. Globally, people are trying to stop him, but still this is continuing, and it is a right time that people get alert and stop polluting. Now let us study the types of pollutions. The first one is air pollution. Before that, let us see the composition of air. Normally, the air consists of 20.92% of oxygen, 78.10% of nitrogen, 0.9% of argon, 0.03% of carbon dioxide, and 0.01% of hydrogen, and very much traces of hydrogen and helium and neon. Coming to the major pollutants of this air, these pollutants are categorized into primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. Under primary pollutants, we have particulate substances and then gaseous substances. Particulate, these are tiny particles. These include dust, smoke, fly ash, mist, and pollen grains. Coming to the gaseous substances, under this we have oxides of carbon, oxides of nitrogen, and oxides of sulfur. Then under secondary pollutants, we have those pollutants which are generated by the action of these electromagnetic radiations on the oxides of carbon, nitrogen and sulfur, and under this we have PAN and ozone as the secondary pollutants. Oxides of carbon. These include the two major oxides of carbon, that is carbon monoxide and then carbon dioxide. Carbon monoxide. This carbon monoxide, it is very much toxic, it is colorless and an odorless gas. When do you find carbon monoxide formation is during the partial combustion of any of these fuels. When oxygen is insufficient, then that leads to the formation of carbon monoxide. And the main sources of this carbon monoxide are thermal power plants and even automobiles. And the annual release of around 200 million metric tons is seen with this carbon monoxide. And the problem with this is that this carbon monoxide, it's toxic because it binds very strongly to hemoglobin. So once it is bound to hemoglobin, this is a very strong bond. While the carbon dioxide is there, it forms a dissociable complex with hemoglobin, while this is a stable complex. So the hemoglobin that is available for binding of oxygen, it is reduced. So oxygen supply will be affected when carbon monoxide is there. Then carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is released by all living forms, including plants and animals. Animals of all scale, they'll be releasing it. This carbon dioxide usually it reaches the atmosphere, and we know that we have the natural carbon quenchers. Those are the plants. These plants they'll be taking up the carbon dioxide and they'll be converting it into organic form. So this is the normal carbon cycle which will be operating, and carbon dioxide released is again trapped. Then the reasons for increase in carbon dioxide, the main one is deforestation. This deforestation, it has led to accumulation of carbon dioxide. Lots of carbon dioxide is being released and it is remaining in the atmosphere like this. So if more of carbon dioxide is seen in the atmosphere because of less plants or deforestation, then this is leading to global warming. And here you see the consequences of global warming are what we are facing today, that is change in the rainfall pattern, melting of ice caps in the polar region, and that is leading to increase in the sea level. The sources for the oxides of carbon are majorly we have the industries and even the motor vehicles. These emit both carbon monoxide as well as carbon dioxide, and these cause bronchitis and respiratory related disorders in human beings. So here one more thing is that these oxides of the hydrocarbons and even the oxides of the nitrogen, they combine with these electromagnetic radiations and they result in the formation of peroxyethyl nitrates and ozone. Okay, these two, they are, we see them under the secondary pollutants. And this PAN, the peroxyethyl nitrate, it causes irritation to eyes, in the throat and bronchitis. Then the next oxides are the oxides of sulfur. We know that these oxides of sulfur, they are given out during the combustion of fossil fuels like we have the coal or petroleum. All of these they start releasing the sulfur dioxide. And these sulfur dioxide, it harms the respiratory system, that is they cause respiratory disorders. And they also exhibit toxic effects on the plants. They'll be spoiling the leather, yellowing of paper, building material it gets affected, and even marble gets affected. So the consequences other than this is what happens is when this sulfur dioxide is released, okay, the sulfur dioxide along with the nitric oxides, it reaches the atmosphere and it combines with the water and forms acids. So acids of sulfur and nitrogen will be formed, that is the sulfuric acid and nitric acid, and these acids they reach the soil back during acid rains. So the consequences are you'll be seeing that there is a loss of fertility of the soil, microorganisms in the soil they'll be dying off, it causes damage to historical monuments, and also they pollute the surface and groundwater. Then particulate matter. These include the tiniest of the particles like the dust particles, the carbon particles, the smoke, pollen grains, fly ash, mist. All these, they are the particulate matters. So these are fine things which are emitted by the automobiles as well as the factories. Okay, they release their gaseous emissions into the air, and the consequences are will be facing irritation to the eyes. It can lead to asthma and even bronchitis. So presence of this carbon particles or this smoke which combines with the fog to form smog, all these things they lead to poor visibility. As we can see here, every January we'll be seeing in Delhi such images, we'll be seeing in the news all such images that the visibility is lost. So these reduce the visibility and these may lead to road accidents also and even aerial accidents. Depletion of ozone layer. We all know that ozone layer, it is the umbrella of the earth, and it prevents the penetration of UV rays onto the surface of the earth. And if UV rays are entering into the earth, then they can lead to skin cancer. Some people may be losing sight also, and they have very fatal effects, lethal effects on the life of other living organisms. They may be dying. Even the supersonic jet planes, when they are flying at very high altitudes, they'll be using a different type of fuel which emits lots of oxides of nitrogen and sulfur, and this is going to destroy the ozone layer. So we'll be getting ozone holes through which UV rays penetrate, and these in turn cause all these effects, the consequences of which we are facing. In recent days, the area of that ozone hole it's increasing. That is because of increased supersonic jets and increased emissions. Now, how do we control air pollution? These are few suggestions by which we can control air pollution. So we should avoid deforestation and encourage reforestation. That should be practiced. Automobile industries and the industrial smoke, it has to be filtered and it has to be detoxified before it is released. Some industries they can install tall chimneys so that their gases are released at very high altitudes. The smoke is released at very high altitudes and it doesn't affect the visibility. Then instead of using these conventional fuels like the diesel, petrol and all, we can switch to alternative sources of energy, the renewable source of energy. Then industries, there should be zonation of industries, that is all of them pulled up in one particular area, and all of their effluents and everything can be treated there itself. And even overpopulation or population increase, that is the density of population in the cities, it can be regulated to some extent, they can check it. And people should be educated, they should know the art of living. Say for example, automobiles people are using, even for shorter distance they'll be using it. Instead they can use bicycle, they can have a small walk. So like that, if educated, then people will definitely learn to reduce their carbon emissions. The second one is water pollution. We all know that 70% of the earth is covered with water, and what is causing water pollution is the ill practices, the wrong practices that man does. And pollution causing agents, they come from this. These include the chemicals, all the toxic waste of the industries, and even the agricultural residues like these fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides that they use in excess, and the residues from the cleaning at household, even the washing of chemicals, washing using chemicals, all these things they contribute to pollution, water pollution. And the primary source of water pollution, these are divided into three types. We have industrial waste, agricultural waste, and domestic sewage and garbage. All these are the sources for water pollutants, the major primary sources of water pollution. Industrial waste. We have seen that there is rapid industrialization which is taking place, that is leading to increased water pollution. So these industries, they release this non-biodegradable toxic waste into the nearby water pools like the rivers or the ponds. And major industries that are polluting the water, these are the textile industries, rubber industry, plastic industry, chemical and petroleum industry, leather industry, paper industry, sugar industries, pharmaceutical industries, food processing industries, and mineral processing industries. All of these are releasing their toxic substances which are non-biodegradable into waters. And these effluents which are released, they reach the aquatic flora and the fauna. Okay, they are killing the bacteria which are present over there. Excess of release of toxins, it is killing the natural bacterial flora which is over there, which can purify the water. So release of these industrial waste is, it is reaching the plants and the animals, and finally it is affecting our health. Minamata is one disease which is seen in 1950, which is because of water pollution. We know that it is in the Japan, where people ate those fish which have consumed methyl mercury. The fish and the crabs which are harvested from their sea, they were consumed by the people, and it led to this nervous disorder, that is Minamata. This is because of the effluents which are released untreated by the nearby industries into the sea, and it has even led to death of many people in Japan. domestic sewage and garbage, increased population that demands better sewage treatment, better planning of the city, and proper sanitation. All the organic waste which are released from our kitchen, they can be degraded by the bacteria which are present in the waters. And what is happening is, as we are releasing all these organic waste into the water bodies, and as the bacteria are degrading them, this is resulting also in the depletion of oxygen levels in the water. So, because of this depletion of water level, oxygen levels in the water, the aquatic fish and all which are over there, okay, these start dying. If oxygen level is not there, if the dissolved oxygen level is decreasing, obviously the fauna which are present over there, they'll be dying. And some common things which we release from our kitchens or from our household, these include not just organic waste but even the phenols, the washing powder, shampoos that we use, all the beauty products which have small microparticles, okay, something, some plastic beads and all these things, they are getting released into the water, affecting the flora and fauna which are present in the water. Hence, there is a need for proper municipal waste management system, and they should be managing this domestic waste. So previously, in olden days when we didn't have much of population, the garbage was just dumped outside as landfill or it is thrown into rivers and lakes. And today, if this continues, if such landfilling continues during rains, all those things, they reach into the groundwater. Whatever that is being dumped, they'll be solubilized, okay, during rains, and they'll be reaching the groundwater. Even feccation in the rivers and ponds, this is a common thing in olden days, where they used to do open defecation near the water bodies, and that water only they drink, and this is leading to all these infectious diseases like cholera, hepatitis, typhoid, etc. Then another important contributors for water pollution are the agricultural waste. In agriculture, yes, definitely there is a need for addition of fertilizers and pesticides, but these become the common water contaminants of the nearby water bodies. To get better yield, we are doing it, and pesticides are used to save the crop. What is happening is, when you are adding these fertilizers in excess out of enthusiasm, these are reaching the water bodies. Even pesticides, when you are adding them in excess, that is reaching the water bodies. The pesticides, these are nitrogen containing things. So in the water bodies, what happens is, if immediate nitrogen is there, it will lead to the formation of algal blooms. So if algal blooming is there, then since they occupy more of the surface area, gaseous exchange will not be there properly. Thereby, there is a decrease in the dissolved oxygen levels, and this will lead to death of the fauna. Coming to the pesticides, which are entering into the water bodies, these are consumed by the fish over there. And finally, these fish, when they are consumed by the man, they cause all those toxic effects. Control measures. How we can control water pollution? The first thing is the scientific use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. We have to educate the farmers that, add little bit, whatever that is required, prescribed, only that is to be added and nothing in excess. And we can recommend the farmers to go for this organic farming or usage of biopesticides. Today, organic farming is catching the market. And one more thing is, we should avoid defecation, bathing, washing the cattle and clothes in the nearby freshwater sources. This entire thing should be prohibited actually. And the industries, they should not release their waste just like that. They have to treat them properly, and they should never emit them into the nearby water bodies. Strict actions must be taken if any industry is deviating from this, from the respective pollution control boards. Next thing is sewage treatment plants. These must be operative with the latest scientific techniques, so that, these eco-friendly techniques, so that all the ways, there are many organisms which have come up. There are recipes of microorganisms which are there, which can degrade even the toxiest of the compound. So we can use such things and decrease the level of toxic compounds present in the sewage, and then release the fresh water into the water bodies, release that treated water into the water bodies or into the ocean. We should never let even the sewage water to directly drain into water bodies, into the river or into oceans. Next one is soil pollution. So the major sources for the soil pollution are industries, agricultural waste or agricultural residues, and even the urban waste. Solid waste, they are just dumped up in the open lands, and these are the sources which cause the soil pollution. Even agricultural residues include what we have seen previously, that is the fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides which are added in excess out of over enthusiasm. What happens is when we are adding all these things into the soil, these pollutants during rain, they'll be getting carried down into the groundwater. They'll be affecting even the soil flora and fauna which are present over there. And you can see that the urban waste, all that garbage, the hospital waste, all the hostel waste, all these are the important ones which are causing the major soil pollution in recent days. And one more major pollutant is this plastic. Plastic carry bags, we use them very often, and these are very hazardous pollutants because they take longer duration, they take years to get degraded. So here you can see they can form a layer also. They're forming a layer, and such layer formation, what happens is it restricts the water seepage into the ground. So this is affecting the seepage of water into the ground, thereby the groundwater levels will be reducing. So the aquifers, recharge of aquifers is affected because of this plastic bags. Then how do we control soil pollution? The very first thing is we have to educate the farmers about this pesticides and fertilizers usage. It should be minimized and they have to shift to alternative methods. Even solid waste disposal in the urban areas, it has to be minimized. They cannot just dump the waste just like that. If anything can be recycled and reused, that should be done. And just dumping into the soil, it should be prevented. And also, if at all landfilling is being done, there are sanitary methods of landfilling which could be practiced. That should be there. This is how we can control soil pollution. Next one is marine pollution. Man, he considers sea as a universal sink, a universal dump yard. Industries, food corporations, all these things, they'll be just dumping their waste, in large quantities into this oceans. All those infected grains, they are just dumped into the seas just like that. It is not just them, but even the oil spills from the wrecked ships, all those oil products from the refineries during the drilling operations, lots of oil is released into the soil, and that is causing released into the sea, and that is causing this ocean pollution of this ocean or water bodies. And this soil, once it is spilled, it starts spreading over a wide surface area, and it affects the marine life. And this marine pollution, it affects both the fish as well as the birds which are present in the oceans. So here we know that the seafood protein, it has become an important part of our diet. Lots of seafood is being consumed by people, and such protein wherein the fish are if they are affected, then these become unfit for our consumption. So when oil is built up, what happens is this oil, it starts floating na? It forms what is known as a black tar ball sort of things, and that will affect the fish. It will deposit on the birds also, and it will deposit even in the coastal areas like this. Even our Indian west coast belt, it has more of such deposits which are seen because of those lots of refineries which are there, and the oil transit usually takes place mostly in that west coast. So you can see such areas in the west coast. And what are the control measures? First thing is precaution which should be taken. Yes, oil refineries, oil terminals, they are required for us. Oil exchange is being taking place between countries. Oil extraction is to be done, but still oil spillage, it has to be reduced. Then if that is happening, if any spillage is happening, immediately they have to use some emulsifiers also, so that whatever that is spilled, it can be eliminated. And there should be increased vigilance to reduce all those accidents which are taking place in the sea, causing wrecking of ships and release of those gallons of oil, crude petroleum. Then, apart from this, the most important thing is there are some oil eating bacteria which have been identified and these can clear oil spillage. Okay, they can clear whatever oil that is spilled. They can just degrade it outright in the ocean itself at that point itself. So we can use such things, and remove that oil, thereby prevent spoilage of the coastal belt and protect the flora and the fauna of the sea. Thank you.